What if I told you that your body, it actually came with a hidden owner's manual, a set of operating instructions for your digestive system that almost no one ever gets around to reading? Well, in this explainer, we're going to uncover those instructions.
Okay, I want to kick things off with a line from our source material that is, frankly, pretty shocking. It says, "Your gut bacteria have started eating you." And look, that is not a metaphor. It's a biological reality. When we starve our internal ecosystem, those bacteria get hungry, and they literally start digesting the protective lining of our own intestines.
And this whole process, this internal cannibalism, right? It turns out it's the hidden trigger for so many things we might just brush off as normal. That brain fog you just can't seem to shake, that stubborn bloating that shows up out of nowhere, and the kind of chronic fatigue that makes 3 p.m. feel like midnight. These aren't just random feelings, they have a root cause.
Okay, so that naturally leads to the big question, right? If this is actually happening, how in the world do you stop it? How do you fix the entire system from the inside out? Well, it's not about some miracle cure. It's about understanding the basic operating rules.
So what we're going to do is walk through 5 science-backed mechanisms that are, for all intents and purposes, that user manual. Think of these as the fundamental principles for running a healthy gut.
All right, first up, mechanism number 1. And I absolutely love this one. I call it the internal cleaning crew. This is a process that is almost completely ignored in our modern lives, yet it's arguably one of the most powerful tools your body has.
Now, this right here, this corrects a huge misunderstanding most of us have. We tend to think of our gut as just a simple conveyor belt. Food goes in, it moves along, food goes out. But the reality is that your small intestine has 2 very distinct modes: eating mode and cleaning mode. And here's the kicker, you can't be in both at the same time.
So that cleaning mode, it's actually powered by something called the migrating motor complex, or MMC for short. The best way to think about this is like an internal street sweeper. It's this powerful, rhythmic wave that sweeps through your small intestine, pushing all the undigested food and debris down into the colon where it belongs.
But here's the thing. This crew has some very strict rules, and they are non-negotiable. First, the street sweeper only comes out when the street is empty. It waits about 90 to 120 minutes after your stomach is fully empty to even start its shift. Second, the cleaning cycle itself takes another 90 minutes to complete. And third, and this is the big one, the moment any calories hit your stomach, even from a splash of milk in your coffee or a handful of nuts, the cleaning crew clocks out and goes home. In our world of constant snacking, this crew never gets a chance to work, which can lead to bacterial overgrowth and, you guessed it, bloating.
So here's the takeaway, the really crucial part. The fix? It's not complicated at all. It's simply about closing the kitchen. Spacing your meals by 4 to 5 hours gives that cleaning crew enough time to complete a full cycle. You know that rumbling you sometimes hear in your stomach? That's not always hunger. A lot of the time, that's just the sound of the street sweeper hard at work.
Okay, on to our second mechanism, your gut's garden ecosystem. Now that we've cleaned things up, we got to tend to the garden, right? We need to think about who's living inside it.
All right, take a look at this number, 30. Just 30. What in the world could that possibly have to do with your gut?
Well, it turns out, according to the American Gut Project, the single strongest predictor of a healthy gut, it isn't how much fiber you eat, but the variety. The magic number seems to be eating 30 or more different types of plants every single week. And why is that? It's because different bacteria like to eat different things. If you want to build a diverse, resilient, internal garden, you have to feed it a wide variety of foods. And the good news is, herbs, spices, and nuts all count towards that number.
All right, let's move on to our third operating instruction, the digestive clock. We've talked about cleaning and feeding, but now we got to talk about timing. Because it turns out that when you eat is just as important as what you eat.
So I want you to think of your digestive system like a factory that runs 2 completely different shifts. During the day, you've got the day shift. The factory is fully staffed, it's running at peak efficiency, and your body is really sensitive to insulin. But then, at night, the night shift takes over. Now this is just a skeleton crew. Their job isn't to process a big workload, their job is repair and clean up. Eating a huge meal late at night is like dumping a massive, unexpected project on that skeleton crew. They just can't handle it efficiently.
So what's the solution? Well, it's pretty simple. You align your eating with the factory's schedule. This is what people often call time-restricted eating. It's not about starving yourself at all. It's about creating a clear window for metabolic rest.
By closing your eating window, let's say after 8 p.m., you give your body this long, uninterrupted period overnight to just focus on repair and regeneration.
Okay, mechanism number 4. This one is so important. It's the brain-gut power switch. You can be doing everything else right, but if this one wire is frayed, the whole system can just shut down.
So your brain and your gut, they're connected by this massive superhighway of a nerve called the vagus nerve. And here's what happens. When your body even thinks there's a threat, whether that's a real danger or just a stressful email from your boss, it flips into fight or flight mode. And as a survival mechanism, it immediately pulls blood and energy away from digestion and sends it to your muscles. Digestion is a luxury when survival is on the line. Eating while you're stressed is basically like trying to use an appliance when the power is turned off at the main switch.
But, and this is so cool, here's the hack. You can actually manually flip that switch back to rest and digest mode. Before you take a single bite of your next meal, just stop. Take a slow breath in, and then make your exhale noticeably longer than your inhale. Do this 3 times. This simple 30-second action stimulates your vagus nerve and sends a powerful signal to your brain that says, hey, we're safe. And just like that, the brain turns the power back on for digestion.
And that brings us to our 5th and final mechanism. We've talked a lot about what to do, but now we have to talk about what to stop doing. This is all about stopping the chemical attack. Because in biology, sometimes subtraction is way more powerful than addition.
The thing is, we are constantly exposing our gut to chemicals that are basically like little bombs going off in our microbiome. Think about unnecessary antibiotics. They're like a forest fire for your internal ecosystem. Then there's the chronic, low-level exposure to pesticides on our food, and even the chlorine in most tap water, which basically acts like a mild, constant antibiotic.
So, the strategy here isn't about some crazy overhaul. It's just about playing a little defense, being mindful, using antibiotics only when they're truly necessary, maybe choosing organic for the produce that soaks up the most pesticides, like the Dirty Dozen, and using a simple water filter. These are small acts of defense that protect the delicate system you're working so hard to build.
You know, there's a line from our source material that just puts this perfectly. Think of your body as a house. You cannot keep it clean if you are constantly tracking in mud. In other words, you can't fix the system if you're simultaneously sabotaging it.
So, you see, this is the unified philosophy. It's not about finding one single magic pill. It's about respecting all 5 parts of that operating manual. You've got to respect the cleaning crew by giving them space. You enrich the soil with variety. You align with the body's natural clock. You fix the wiring through relaxation. And you stop the daily chemical attack. That's how the system is designed to work.
You know, the beautiful thing about this whole system is that it's actually incredibly forgiving. The real power doesn't come from waiting for a crisis. It lies in prevention. It lies in the small, quiet, daily decisions that build resilience over time. So my final question for you is this. Looking at these 5 principles, which small, daily decision will you make first?